If creativity is a living system, then you're not stuck. You're just in a different season. But most of us panic in winter instead of learning what it's there to teach. This episode is for anyone who's feeling off, uninspired, or feels like they've lost that spark. You haven't lost it. It's just changing form. But in the end, you're going to be able to recognize what creative season you're in and what each phase actually does for your growth. Hello. Welcome back to Muse. My name is Damaris. This is the podcast where I talk about all things creativity, personal growth, being an artist, the struggles that we have as creative people, as creative beings that are trying to find the best ways that we can live out a creative life, exploring and expressing ourselves, but also wanting to learn and build on this curiosity and the type of mind that we have to create beautiful things. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in doing, then stick around. Think about subscribing or following this podcast, because these are the type of conversations and things that I share that I feel super passionate about as being a creative person. And these are some of the struggles or some of the things that I contemplate and have had conversations with others about when it comes to creativity, when it comes to wanting to express ourselves fully and authentically. Let's set the stage. The creative process moves like nature. It's constantly in motion and it has different expressions. Every phase has a purpose and you can't rush it. Some of us tend to burn out trying to stick in a season of constant output. If everything bloomed all year round, it wouldn't survive. And more so, I think we just wouldn't appreciate the things that come out only in that season. We wouldn't be able to acknowledge and be grateful for the season if those things happened all year round. I don't know if you've heard of Vivaldi. The classical composer. I don't know why I tend to make comparisons of creative thought into other forms of music, but this is the way that my brain works and this is where we're heading. So Vivaldi made a whole, I would say almost like an album of the Four Seasons. It's called Four Seasons. If you haven't heard it, please check it out. It's amazing. And each season for him expressed itself in a different sound. Now, he wrote this music, these pieces of art, really, with strings as the main instruments, which gives the feeling of a very natural, organic progression into what each phase and season brings. Now, as we're talking about the four creative seasons that you can experience as an artist, as a creative person, as a creative mind, I want you to be able to think about maybe not the sound so much if you can't relate to it in that way, but maybe what each season actually looks like, how it feels, what type of energy you have when you experience these seasons. Springtime in many cultures is emergence. It's the renewing of life, of ideas, of movement once again. It almost feels like play without the pressure. In spring, in nature, things just start to bloom. I'm almost a spring baby. My birthday's in March. So I'm kind of at the cusp of when winter is almost finished. It's like just starting to warm up like a little bit. And you can see that life is starting to emerge. You can sense that it's just around the corner before we start seeing blossoms of nature, of green, of life, which is so exhilarating, I think, to see life emerge before your eyes. If you listen to Vivaldi, Spring is probably one of the most popular songs of that whole album. It's so lively. It's so fresh. Like, to me, spring feels and smells, and the sense of it, the essence of spring is very fresh and renewed. You're coming out of your shell. And that's what our creativity should feel like. So when you're in this season, even if it's not the season of what's happening in your environment, but you're in the season of creativity of spring, that is what is emerging. Then we go into summer, expansion. Summer energy is high. You're getting tons of vitamin D. You feel full and you have the capacity to share with others. You want to share, you want to connect, you want to be moving. There's a sense of fire and kind of drive to move towards something, to make something happen. This is where, in the creative process, your ideas are now becoming something. You're in a place where you can take what you've thought about, you can take what you have planned, and start to move into action, start to move into the creation mode. Because you have the energy, you have the expansion, you have the capacity to make it happen. It's very much alive. Then we go into autumn. Autumn, things start to slow down a little bit. The colors of the leaves start to change. The weather starts to cool. The days start to become shorter. And the pace of things start to slow down. This is where refinement is the key. I would say in autumn, you are harvesting the last of the things that you implemented in the summer. And this is where your creative ideas either come to a close or pause, or where you start to reflect a little more in what is actually feeling aligned. Now that you're moving into a slower pace, what and where do you want to be putting your energy? Where do you want to be focusing your attention? Refinement is all about pruning and taking away the things that aren't working for you in all areas of your life, and where you can start to pay more intentional attention to the details, to the little things that make your life feel good and worth living, worth creating. It doesn't mean you're not creating at all. It just means you're doing it in a way that is more intentional, less fast paced, and more slow. Then we get into winter. Winter is slow, it's observational. There's rest, reorientation, and stillness. It might look like nothing's actually happening, but this is where you give yourself space to think, to journal ideas, to sketch, to slow the process of creation down and to just let things come out as they want. Maybe your focus goes more into yourself and working on yourself versus output of things. Maybe you take the time to look up inspiration and find ways to make connections that maybe you hadn't seen before because now your output is less and your mind and your thoughts and your ideas are more because there's more space for that. Our society accepts and approves of having a creative culture that is constantly producing. Everything about our work and being a creative person, being an artist in whatever medium, we tend to start out creating for fun, as a hobby even, and then it becomes a production. It becomes how productive can we be with our time, with our energy, with the things that we're making? How can we potentially make money if that's something that you're interested in doing? This hustle culture of producing work, even if it's not pushed upon you directly, it is in everything that we experience in social media, in the economy. It's just the way that our society exists is to produce. And as much as certain areas of our lives are changing and we are dedicating more time to rest, more time to check in with ourselves, check in with our work, we still put a lot of value on the output, even if it's internal, and find it difficult to take the time away, especially if you are creating and that is your source of income. But the reality is, no one can sustain that type of output all the time. It's not conducive to a healthy, creative life. When it comes to figuring out what season you're in, whether you are creating already or you're wanting to create something, I would say check in. Check in with yourself and see what kind of energy you have. Are you in a place of where your thoughts and your feelings, your energy is generating something? Are you in a refining place, an integrating or expressing place? It's good to ask yourself these questions, not just because we're here in the Northern Hemisphere, are in autumn season externally. That's what the environment says. It doesn't mean that you personally are necessarily going to be in that season. If you're in a generating season and it's winter outside or fall, that's okay. That means that you have the capacity, you have the energy to put into creating something. And I would say, create something. Whatever those ideas are stirring up in you, and you have the energy, you have the time, create something. That's amazing. And to have that type of energy consistently is very difficult. So, trying to maximize that time that you have to generate something is beautiful, and take advantage of it because it's hard to come by and to be at that state all the time. Most importantly, I would say don't force yourself to try and be in a state that you're not in. I mean, sometimes we have to do that. I understand, especially if you're trying to support yourself with your art, with your work. But if you can, for the most part, trying to move with your energy, with your season, will only benefit you long term. Now, I'm going to talk to my ladies, the women, the beings out there that go through a menstrual cycle. I would like to specifically say, as someone who does go through a cycle, there is an even more internal season happening every month. And with that comes the ebbs and flows of energy, of the capacity to have the mental clarity, the physical energy and stamina to create stuff. With that, we have to understand that is something that is internal and integral to our creative process and our creative work. Being able to follow this natural flow in our lives alongside the things that we create will only be more beneficial and sustainable to our well-being if we can do it and pay attention to it with intention. I think it really aligns well with understanding the season that you're in creatively, but also within ourselves, within our bodies. You know what season you're in. Internally, our ecosystem, our nature is to follow in nature's footsteps. A lot of the times, we are experiencing the world and building within the world through the lens of what is happening around our environment. Because it is autumn here in Vancouver, I've already noted that there are specific things in the way that I create or the things that inspire me more so in autumn. So I'm going to use that to my advantage when I'm thinking about creative work, when I'm following a process of flow and trying to be more intentional with the way that I approach my creative work in general. I tend to listen to more classical music and jazz in the fall. I just enjoy it more. I'm more gravitated towards it. They tend to not have as many lyrics. So it gives me more calm and more space to focus on the work that I'm doing or on other things. And it's just relaxing. And this month, I have chosen to give myself an intention for the month. This is the second month that I've been doing this. And this month is my refinement intention, which means I'm trying to refine my systems. I'm trying to refine the way I approach things, more intuition and understanding of where I'm at, of what is working, what's not working. How can I integrate the things that I'm doing in a much slower way? So far, it's going really well. And I'm enjoying this process. I'm enjoying creating an intention for the month. And I already see a difference in having a theme for the month that helps me stay on track, helps me stay and keep the intention at the forefront of my mind. Refinement is about working with the phase that you're in, not against it. If you're in winter, refine your systems. If you're in spring, refine your curiosity. If you're in autumn, refine your focus. If you're in summer, refine your action. Creative flow isn't a staircase up. It's a cycle that we flow into and out of depending on our natural cycle of creative ideas. Knowing your season keeps you from fighting what's natural, what's naturally happening within you and around you. When you stop resisting what season you're in, you stop interrupting your own evolution. The point of all this is really that as creative people, we want to be connecting as often as possible to our creative flow, to our creative work, to other creative people. And in order to be able to do that, we have to be in tune and understanding of where we're at so that we can maximize creating and living a life that's full of the things that excite us about being creative beings. What is inspiring us? It's so important to be able to pinpoint the things that keep us motivated to keep coming back to our work or even to get started. So, listening, thinking, feeling into the season that you're in is going to help you to understand yourself better and understand your work and the work you want to be creating. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. I hope that this little perspective has given you a different way to approach where you're at in your creative work, in your creative expression. I know that it has helped me to be more intentional with where I'm at and how I'm moving in my life. I would love to hear what season you're in and how you're moving in your work, in your life. And if you relate to this idea of your creative work being in seasons. I hope you have an amazing day. Please like and subscribe and follow if you enjoy this type of content, and share it with other people that might benefit from thinking about creativity in a different way, maybe in a way that they haven't before. I appreciate you listening to the end. Keep creating. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.